Hello ladies and gentlemen, and today I'm going to talk about a console it's my newest console to my collection and I'm loving it at the moment. I've only got 4 games for at the moment, loads are going to be coming on Saturday, but I'll be showing them probably in the next 2 weeks as like a big pickups video. And the console that I want to talk about is the Sega Saturn. This is the Model 2, which I believe came out in 1996, not 1995 like the other. Like the first model. The first model has kind of oval shaped buttons and it's a bit, just looks slightly more curved. This is more square. And yeah, and let's just talk about the console for a second. Okay, this console has a dual processors in it. So two 32-bit processors which worked together, which made it horrible to program. Loads of developers actually pulled out of this because it was very hard to program for. So I think today it's still one of the hardest ones to develop for. Was still one of the hardest ones to develop for. Runs off. It's CD based, not the first CD based console made by Sega. That was obviously the Sega Omega CD. As a cartridge slot here, which you can use for expanding your memory or backup RAM cards, and I will talk about the backup RAM cards and accessories that you can get for this console in a bit. Okay, so let's talk about this console. Everyone knows it was a colossal fail. In Europe it didn't have a big following at all. When I first found out about this console, I remember I was at a mate's house and he got it very late on, and he had Resident Evil. And we were playing on it, and I was blown away. That's what got me to Resident Evil, was the Saturn version, not the PlayStation version. And I was so jealous of him. I thought this console was amazing. I didn't see the PlayStation at the time. And then my parents got me a PlayStation, and I was quite angry, which was obviously silly of me and very premature evaluation. But this console did have a lot of support in Japan and a lot more in America, but not as much in Europe. There was a big problem with Sega with management. They didn't respect each other with all the different things. They did not work together, which was also another reason for the downfall. What happened was this console meant to be released around the same time as the PS1, but came out about 3 or 4 months earlier. And it was all a bit, really, and a lot of developers were really angry and just pulled out and then just poured everything over to their PlayStation as kind of a boycott to the Saturn. No EA support either, which was bad because they make all the sports games. But Sega had their own sports division. I can talk about that later as well. That played more of a bigger part in the Dreamcast. Did that entire conflict there. But anyway, let's talk about the console. So, I said, runs off CDs, you've got your power, your reset button feels real good, real nice and springy. Your power button, real good, you have your LED there, tell you it's on, and your CD tray, your RAM card slot or your memory card slot depending. You have your 2 ports on the front. I really do think they could have gone for 4, but I do believe actually the technology wasn't 100% there, and there is a lot of stuff in here, to be honest, in this console itself, so fitting format being a bit chaotic. Even though there is one game that does allow for thinking like some 19 players, and I think that's like Bomberman or something daft like that. If I look on the back of the console, as a built-in power supply unit, so all you need to do is plug it in. You have your AV out, which you can get RCA cards. And you have this port here, the connection communicator, which I believe was going to be used for a modem and a lot of other sphericals and stuff like that, more add-ons. And also you have this slot here. Now, as you see, there's a battery. That is actually your internal memory. So this regulates the clock and keeps everything going. You have to change it about once a year. So getting a memory card, and this is on my to get list, is a memory card because I need to back up loads of save data on this. Anyway, that's the console. It's big, it's bulky, and you know what, it feels sturdy, it feels like it could take a beating. Unlike the PlayStation, which I personally wasn't that. The quality wasn't there. The hardware was good. The hardware was good, but it wasn't even half as good. In some aspects of the hardware, the Sega Saturn was better, but the third party part which killed it. Okay, the pad is if you've ever seen the 6-button Mega Drive pads, then you're pretty much familiar with this. You have your D-pad, very nice D-pad. You have your buttons, your A, B, C, X, Y, Z. Then you have your 2 micro switch. Is there, and your, you know, start button. Can't remember the name for it. Has a different connection this time, like this, which is not good because Sega used to use, I think it's a 9-pin connector. Very similar to a VGA kind of similar shape to a VGA connector. I mean, kinda. Okay, now let's talk about downfalls. Obviously, I mentioned the management was a big problem. The early release date, loads of third-party developers left, and yeah, and the titles for it wasn't the best. I mean, the ported Virtual Fighter from the Mega Drive, and to fully render it. So when it was released, Virtual Fighter came out and it wasn't even done. So it's the worst port in history, which I'd like to mention. And in Europe, we didn't get much in the way of support for it. Really, there wasn't much that you could do with it. I mean, we got the add-ons, we got the controllers, we got the light guns. I don't think we got the modem, but I think you can buy your NetLink games in Europe. I'm not 100% on that. As for game development, most of it was Sony, head-on Sony. Now, this console at the time was priced at around £399, I believe, and that's expensive back then. But yeah, with the lack of support for it, and a lot of retailers wouldn't even stock this console because of the early release date and they didn't work with them. Now, as I said, I mentioned the management all being separate, not cooperating. What it was, you had the Japanese on top, who owned it all. They did not respect either the EU or the American sections of Sega. The Americans didn't respect the Japanese or the EU, and EU didn't respect the American or the Japanese, so they didn't work together. If they worked together, got everything synchronized, it would have been fantastic. I think it would have wiped the floor, and also if they didn't do that stunt of we're releasing it early. What it was with that, anyway, the early release, there was that E3, and they announced it. It's out now. You can get it now. A lot of retailers just what? Because normally a company would work with a retailer for shelf space, put them up so they can promote it better, and a lot of them just went, no, we're not having it. Okay, your space, all Sony now, all Nintendo. So it was a bit of a shame that happened, but Sega have had a bad reputation. Nobody knew what was happening with them. You couldn't keep up with what was happening because then you had the Mega CD, colossal failure. You had the Fat Drags, even more of a failure, and then you had this failure. Okay, let's talk about games then. What it could do. It could do arcade ports half decently. You had a lot of good arcade ports from Sega because Sega at the time had the best arcade division. We have AM2. And they would release games like Sega Rally, Virtual Fighter. Virtual Fighter 2 is probably the best one of the best 3D fighting games on the console. You also had Capcom. I can mention this also about the Dreamcast. Capcom loved Sega. They were in bed with Sega or something because a lot of the 2D fighters from the arcade were released on the Sega Saturn or on the Dreamcast. But that's another story. Other developers in Europe, there really wasn't that many, to be honest. Yeah, I think some Ubisoft here and there, but not much. It was mainly all Sega. Sega. Game-wise, there's some good games. Sega Rally, brilliant arcade port of that. Daytona USA, pretty much the same thing. You had a lot of good third-person shooters as well, first-person shooters even. And there were you had Duke Nukem, Alien Trilogy, which isn't the best version. The best version is apparently on the Jaguar, which is Alien vs Predator, actually. But and also you had your survival horror in the form of Resident Evil 1, which everyone says that's the best version because it's got an extra monster which you don't get. And you had a few RPGs here and adventure games. I mean, games that I own at the moment. I will get them now. Games I actually have on me at the moment. I haven't got a big collection of them, but I'm getting more. And again, you'll see that in pickups. Shining Wisdom. It's a real good Zelda clone, part of the Shining Force series. I like it. I'm really into this game. I've put so many hours in, and I want to talk about the cases actually for a minute. In Europe, we got these horrible cardboard cases which got damaged at the sides and everything, and you know, just they felt like they were going to fall to pieces. You had far too much space in them for a start, and they were quite flimsy, and discs would fall out and get scratched. They were horrible, horrible cases, but a lot better than what the Americans had. The Americans had big long box cases like this, but apart from they were plastic. On the front you had the plastic cover and there was a lot more space in them. And again with that, the Americans always complained about them because there was yeah, they just fell to pieces. They'll get cracked easily, and if you're collecting them, you don't want to be buying those cracked cases or stuff like that. But it's kind of inevitable with these games in America. In Japan, came in normal CD dual cases, which I think is kind of the better option, but you don't get as much of the good artwork as you do on the big box releases. So it's kind of a, what do you want, good artwork or a sturdier case? Personally, I kind of like these. I like the feel of them. It's different. You don't see the kind of, you know, your Sega games when you put them with the rest of them do stand out very, very well. They don't blend in. Anyway, other games I have is Exhumed. First person shooter, very similar to the Doom style, very similar to that, made by a company called Lobotomist Software Inc. And yeah, you can pretty much tell. Sega runner, love this game, put so many hours in. It's only got about 4 tracks, and you only get the 4 track if you beat it. If you beat the game and you come first, you get to go through the 4th track. And Virtual Highlight, an RPG style adventure game using sprites in the form of Mortal Kombat style sprites. So you're running behind like that. And it's a laugh a minute. It is a laugh a minute game. But this game as well, very good. It's a very good game, Virtual Highlight. The Highlight series, unfortunately, hasn't been kept on going, so it's a bit of a shame. And yeah, other games that came out, which you've got a lot of stuff in America by a company called Working Designs, who brought the Rainer series. You had Shining Force 3 as well, which was also in Europe. That commands a lot of money. You had the Panzer Dragoon series, 1 and 2, and Saga. Saga's the RPG to try and fight with, you know, Sony had Final Fantasy 7. Sega had Panzer Dragoon RPG, which some people say is better. I haven't played it because I don't have €300 to just throw down, which is a shame. Because I want to throw down that much money on a game, at least once. But yeah, that's the Sega Saturn. It's kind of like this unknown gem that people are like, why do you have that? It bombed terribly, it's rubbish. It wasn't rubbish, it had great support. Another thing I want to talk about very quickly now is the add-ons that you can get. So as I said, steering wheels, light guns, joysticks. You also had a 3D pad, and the 3D pad was used on a game called Nights into Dreams, and that was the first analog stick that you had. It was big and round, and it's very reminiscent of the Dreamcast controller. I will put a picture up actually. I will see if I can put a picture up on even the sides of them to show you. Other things that other things that have been released for it. There has been an action replay card, a 4-in-1. So you've got your RAM card, you've got your backup, and also you've got your cheats, and you've got import play. So you can play imported games. This only works with I think about 98% of the games. So games like Patrick and Saga, if you was to get an American version, it wouldn't work anyway with it. Same if you got the Japanese version, it wouldn't work with because it's such a big game. So if you are looking for that game, I recommend getting your local copy. You can modify these. I said it has an AV out, and you can get an RCA adapter for it. So that's like your best pitch that you can get as an RCA. I'm running it through RF because I've got a small TV and I've already got my PlayStation plugged in. So yeah, that's the Sega Saturn. If you see it, get it, but don't expect to get this amazing collection. A lot of the games are expensive now. It's gone up. It's become that kind of black sheep. It's become desirable because of how bad it was. And yeah, if you have any comments or suggestions, please leave it in the comments below, and I will message you back straight away and reply to them. So thank you.